Hi, this is Bob Newhart reminding you you're listening to the Ken Behrens Show.
Yeah, this is the place. Have you watched the NEWHART'S show? It's a good one. In fact, it's one that I try not to miss. There are two shows that I think that are really outstanding, and the ones that I try not to miss if at all possible. One is Cheers, and the other one is the Bob Newhart Show. Stephen Kampmann, who plays Kirk Devane on NEWHART'S, on the line. Good morning, Stephen. How are you?
Good morning, Ken. Fine, thank you.
I really have to tell you this. I find myself laughing out loud when I watch the show, and I don't do that very often.
Are you alone, or are you...
I'll laugh out loud even if I am alone. And that says something to me. It strikes a funny chord, and I've heard a lot of people say that. The new Bob Newhart Show is becoming as popular, I think, as the old one, and the old one was just a classic.
It was indeed.
So you got on a good one anyway, and I like your character. I think it's I don't know if you've ever seen a Kirk Devane before. You are really an obnoxious neighbor, aren't you?
Yeah, I think I push the limits, as it were.
Even in your relationship with Cindy the clown.
Yeah.
Well, you finally got somebody who likes you and can put up with you, and you didn't like you. Well, you had a hard time dealing with that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, and in fact, that relationship continues and gets more involved, and it was, I think, a kind of relationship that I really needed, as a matter of fact, but quite surprised that someone so nice would fall for me.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering how this all happens. You lived in Vermont. Maybe isn't that the place where the show takes place too?
Yeah.
Is that how you got the part? They figured, well, you know something about Vermont.
I wish it was that simple. I got the part because I spent quite a bit of my time out here at the MTM Productions, the Mary Tyler Moore Productions, which produced the old Bob Newhart Show, and of course the old Mary Tyler Moore Show, and Hill Street Blues, and a lot of other shows. And I was in development with my wife. We were developing new comedies for them, and I was in the same building as Barry Kemp, who created this show.
Mm-hmm. Were you working on WKRP at that time?
I worked. I had worked in 1979 and 1980 on WKRP. I wrote for 2 seasons for them, and so I was essentially in the area, and Barry Kemp was creating the show, and I was in the same building, and he had seen me at Second City in Chicago, so he knew I had performed, and he also wanted to have some information about Vermont, and which I recommended certain inns and places for him to go visit, and we became friends, and he asked me if I was interested in this role.
Mm-hmm. Oddly enough, Bob Newhart played a psychologist or a psychiatrist on the first show, and you were in psychology, weren't you? Which is sort of related, I guess.
Yeah. Until it became clear either I was going to be a patient or get into this business. So I decided that I'd rather get into this business.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've been associated with really some of the top shows that I can think of. WKRP certainly was one that appealed to me, being in this business, of course.
Yeah, I came into it the second year of the show, and I think there were some good, funny characters on that show, and it was fun to write for, and it was good fortune to be on to have my first experience on a show like that.
I don't know if anybody noticed this, but I did. When Newhart came out last year, I thought it was a good show, but I didn't think it looked quite as good as it does this year. They videotaped it the first season, and I said, boy, that would be just so much better if it was on film. This year it's on film. Did you get any reaction to that, or why the switch?
Well, that's a good perception on your part, really, because I think we all felt the same. I think the switch was made because film is a very subtle look. But I think the old Bob Newhart Show had been done in film, and they looked at the videotape and they decided that the show was more suited to film, which is a kind of a softer, more expensive look. Mm-hmm. And I think they just felt that it was more consistent with what Bob had done in the past, and they made the switch.
But as far as actually putting on the show, you do it the same way, I assume.
It's a little bit different because if you don't get to a certain place at the right time, you're out of focus. And it's like a home movie where everyone gets too close.
Uh-huh. But they do it with what, 3 cameras?
Yeah, they do it with 3 cameras, and the videotape is done with 4 cameras, and it takes a little bit longer to do, and so that means that the audience who's watching the show has to be a little bit more patient because we're really filming a show, and that it just means that there's more time involved.
Mm-hmm. But do you try to do a whole run-through, or do you do it in breaks?
We do it in order, but there are breaks by definition of having to make costume changes and stuff like that. And we have a wonderful guy who entertains the audience. And we have music, and we have a band and stuff, and we try to keep them as entertained as possible because they can be there between 2.5 hours to do the show, so it gives you an idea how long it does take.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is a great show, and I just kind of wonder if you people enjoy yourself as much as we enjoy, watching it. They say comedy is very serious business, and I'm wondering, does Newhart really make everybody toe the line? Is he sort of the one that oversees this whole business, or what happens?
Well, it's his name is on the script. He's the guy that sets the tone, and he's a very low-key gentleman. He's a very nice man, and he does it in a very relaxed, funny, humorous way. He's not what I would call a difficult man to work with or for.
Okay, not a tyrant, in other words, huh?
No, that's not his style.
It's 12 minutes after 10 o'clock. For some reason, I think we all imagine that people who are on screen must be different than that off screen, and maybe he's the same as he is when we watch him. I don't know.
Well, I think he's not so removed from it. His life is in many ways, I think the key is that he maintains a certain normalcy in his life. He has 4 children, and he has 2 daughters that are, I think one is 5 and one is a bit older than that, and he's involved in the raising of a family, and I think that keeps his perspectives and his life kind of in order.
Kirk Devane, the one that runs the cafe next to Bob, is on with us. Stephen Kampmann is his real name. We're talking with Stephen this morning. If you have a question about the Bob Newhart Show, maybe a question about Stephen, maybe you've seen him someplace else, or just have a question about almost anything, we could do it this morning, couldn't we, Steve?
Yeah, definitely.
It's 13 past 10. Give us a call if you like, 829-2345 or 1-800-322-9377.
The one and only window quilt from Springcrest Custom Draperies stops heat escaping from your home up to 79%. That's great news. And here's the best news. Window quilts for sliding glass doors are now 20% off at Springcrest. Window quilt insulating shades block cold drafts and keep that costly heat inside where it belongs. You stay cozier all winter, and window quilts' good looks are an added bonus. For a free estimate and 20% savings on window quilts for sliding glass doors, visit Springcrest Custom Draperies now in Towanda Plaza, Bloomington.
Southtown Appliance has them. The General Electric microwaves featuring solid-state touch controls, cooking by time or temperature, 10 power levels, and a defrost cycle for just $325 right now at Southtown Appliance, 106 Oak Creek Plaza, just off 51 South, 2 blocks south of Highland Park Golf Course.
Southtown Appliance Outlet. Come on out and save with us.
Well, come on out. I'll save you money. I guarantee it.
The sale of the year is now in progress. Yes, DeWinter's pre-inventory half-price sale is now going on with savings on their entire seasonal stock of quality menswear of 50%. Hurry in and get half-price savings on all suits, slacks, sweaters, coats, jackets, and much, much more. This is the sale of the year, and you don't want to miss out on the fantastic half-price savings. So hurry in now during the pre-inventory half-price sale. It's going on now at DeWinter's, Southwest Corner Square in downtown Bloomington.
You're on the air with Stephen Kampmann. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Kirk?
Yes.
What was it like when you... What were you thinking in the scene where you met Stephanie in the restaurant and you threw the family out in the cold?
Yes.
What was that like?
Well, that was really one of my favorite scenes to do last year. It was very fun, and that was the show last year where Stephanie, Julia Duffy, who's now on the show, came to visit. She was Leslie's cousin, and because of that, I think because of that show, that's one of the reasons that Julia ended up being on the show this year. And it was very fun, and she was great to do it with, and I really had a great time in that scene. I really enjoyed doing that scene a lot.
I enjoyed watching it. That was that was the one that I remember most.
Well, I think that was my favorite scene for me for the year for doing.
Just sort of taking the plate and whipping it out the door and saying, "I'll send you a bill."
Getting the family out, throwing them out.
Sir, thank you for the call.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. WJBC, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, yeah, I wanted to ask Steve about, I seem to recall seeing his name when they rolled the WKRP credits. Was he a part of that show?
Yeah, we touched on that briefly, didn't we, Stephen?
About
WKRP.
I'm having a little hard time hearing.
Yeah, she said that she's noticed your name on the credits for that occasionally.
Yes, I spent 1 year. I was in 1979. I was a story editor with my partner Peter Torqueville, and then they were kind enough to make us producers the next year. So 2 years altogether writing for that show.
Okay,
How do you like working for an ensemble as a writer? Do you prefer working with an ensemble as an actor? Or,
I don't know if you can hear that or not. Could you, Steve?
Hello?
Yeah, she's asking, what would you rather write or would you rather act, I guess?
Well, I've tried to do both. When the show is off, which will be in another month, I try to arrange for writing assignments, and this year I'm hoping to be writing a movie during the off season. So I really try to keep both alive, but not at the same time. I really enjoy both of them in different ways.
how would you compare the two casts, do you think? Do you enjoy working equally as well with both of them?
Ken, I'm going to...
Okay, now what two casts are you referring to?
Well, writing for the KRP cast and acting with the Newhart cast.
Okay. Do you like working with both casts?
Well, it's much more fun to be. It's much more fun to be in front of the camera and working with a cast than it is to be writing for a cast. It's a lot. It's a lot easier, I think, and I think that it's much easier to relate to the cast when you're one of the members of the cast than when you're writing for one. So I enjoyed all the people in WKRP, but I didn't get to know them as well as I know this group.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for calling.
Thank you very much.
I think she hit on something there. The shows that I really like, it seems to me, I really identify with all the characters. They really seem real. They're the kind of people you really wouldn't mind having over, to visit or something. I love the show where you invited the people over for the dinner, and they ordered off the menus.
Yeah, that was fun to do.
That was good. And the characters on the show, Stephanie, when she wandered off into the woods, remember that episode?
Yes.
And meets the brothers. I was on the floor for that one.
Daryl.
Yeah, and then she comes back, and she delivers the line right out of The Wizard of Oz. And George, I think I missed you most of all.
Yeah.
When she was going through, and she really has her problems.
Yeah, I guess she does. I always maintain that she and George are secretly in love with one another.
Maybe something.
That's why she delivered that line.
WJBC, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Ken?
Yeah.
Do you know what the skiing condition is right across the border in Wisconsin from Illinois?
Sir, I wonder if you could call back. You're not listening to the radio right now, are you?
No.
Okay, I really don't know.
Okay.
I'll try to find out for you.
Okay.
I know them.
Do you? Well, go ahead, Stephen.
8 new inches of snow.
Up in Wisconsin?
Yeah. No, I don't know.
We're just putting you on, sir. We'll try to find out.
Okay.
WJBC, good morning. You have a question? Going once, twice? Well, if you'd like to talk with Steve, give us a call at 829-2345 or 1-800-322-9377. We don't have a producer as such to answer the phone, so we may have a dog to give away for all I know, Steve. Before we're over here.
It's all over.
I want to go back here a moment. We were talking about the advantages or disadvantages of videotape versus film and vice versa. Film's much more expensive, I would think, to do.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more expensive.
Barney Miller's one of those shows that was on videotape, and they pulled it off. They made it look like it was almost on a kind of a filmed affair for some reason. Now, you really got the feeling that you were in a police station.
Yeah.
They did it with more cameras, you say, huh?
Well, they did it with more cameras, and they did it without an audience. And it's one of those things where you keep in mind that you're shooting a police station, and I think videotape is more useful in kind of a more realistic setting than it is in a setting such as a Vermont and an inn and somewhere where it's more scenic and et cetera, et cetera. And that, is more gritty. And what they did is they used I think they used 5 cameras. And they would essentially spend, I would say, an entire day, if not an entire night, taping it from all sorts of different angles because they had the luxury of doing that without an audience.
Mm.
And so I think that the combination of the sets and the manner and the fact that they did not have an audience all adds up to kind of the look of the show was obtainable because they essentially were able to get in with so many cameras and had so much time.
Then again, they run the risk of adding a laugh track later on to make the laugh track look realistic or sound realistic, don't they?
Well, they do. Buffalo Bill is another show that's shot on our lot that is a new show that's out, and they also they film without an audience. And I think you do run the risk of a laugh track, but I think the key is if you have if a show is very funny or very good, and then you're very subtle with a laugh track, I don't mind it. I only mind laugh tracks when there's nothing funny going on at all.
Mm-hmm. Somebody comes through a door and they get a big...
I hate that, yeah. That sort of thing is just, then that's what's given laugh tracks a bad name. But if you shoot something, it is funny, like Barney Miller was a funny show, and I think Buffalo Bill's a fairly funny show. But you're subtle with it. You're not heavy-handed with it.
Mm.
Then it's just kind of in the background.
Occasionally they sweeten it up, though, too. They add a little laughter, even if you do have a live audience.
Yeah, and that drives us a little crazy because we've had letters, people asking us if our show is done in front of an audience or whether or not we have a laugh track. And, when you go to the effort to have an audience, you want it to sound right, and that's been one of the problems we've had. We haven't felt that the audience has sounded properly, like it is a live audience, because it is a live audience. We only use the laugh track in I would say 85 to 90% of what you hear is real.
Okay. It's 23 minutes after 10 o'clock. We're talking with Stephen Kampmann, who's Kirk Devane on the NEWHART'S show. We'll be right back.
The Great Grocery Rebate. It's going on now at your Bloomington Eisner store. You'll get a $10 food certificate when the amount you spend at Eisner reaches $300. Here's how it works. Come into a Bloomington Eisner store and get a Great Grocery Rebate card. Then each time you shop, Eisner will punch the card for the amount of your purchase. When the total reaches $300, you'll get the $10 food certificate. Come to Eisner for details and get in on the Great Grocery Rebate. It's a great way to save on quality at Eisner.
For the upkeep of your home, for needed home improvements, you need a friend. Alexander Lumber Company has been your friend for nearly a century. They're the ones to count on for help to make your dreams come true with the highest quality materials, a professional staff, service that includes free design and estimates, cutting your lumber to size, free delivery, and much more. Alexander Lumber has 9 convenient locations in central Illinois, ready to provide the assistance you need to complete any building project the most efficient, effective, and economic way possible. Build for the present and the future with Alexander Lumber Company. They're your friend whenever you need them.
Service, it's the name of the game. No others can provide the same. Come build with us, Alexander Lumber Company.
Alexander Lumber Company, downtown Normal, West College in Normal, and in Chenoa, Colfax, Farmer City, Hayworth, Hudson, Leroy, and Roberts.
Ladies and gentlemen, the owner of Thornton Motors, Mr. Jim Miller.
Last year, we started a trend aimed at saving people a lot of money. Now that 1984 is here, we plan to continue that trend, and we're starting on a grand scale. We've been given a special allocation of new Mercury Grand Marquis, and we're selling them for just $11,999. This is the top-of-the-line Mercury model, a full-size 4-door luxury sedan with fuel-injected V8, automatic overdrive, air conditioning, power windows, and much more. Imagine big car, 6-passenger room at a small car price. We've got a large selection in stock to choose from. The Grand Marquis is Mercury's all-time best seller, and at $11,999, we intend to keep it that way. Come in and let us show you this beautiful automobile. Then I think you'll agree that at $11,999, the Grand Marquis is definitely a grand value. I'm Jim Miller.
Thornton Motors, 1304 Morrissey Drive, Bloomington.
You're on the air with Stephen Kampmann. Go ahead.
I
I have a question and a comment. I've read where Bob Newhart is real nervous and a heavy smoker and everything, and he's so calm. All of you have got to be great actors. And also, you in person sound so nice and sweet, and on your character, like he was saying during the intermission, you're such an idiot on the character. I just can't get over the difference. I don't know what the ratings are for Bob Newhart's show, but we really appreciate the show. We've got 4 kids, and there's not much on TV that we can watch with the kids, and it's a regular family night with us. We really appreciate it.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
It's a good family show, and we watch it all the time.
I'll tell Bob.
Okay, bye-bye.
Appreciate the phone call. You deliver the lines low-keyed, too, don't you, in most cases? It's not a bang-you-over-the-head kind of thing with delivery on stage. And we didn't even talk into... Wait, this is maybe too technical to even get into. But I'm thinking, remember on the old I Love Lucy show?
Yeah.
How they used to deliver the lines? It was like they were on stage.
Yeah.
Newhart's about as far away from that as you can get, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You can only get... because he's the center of the show, and all the rest of us are bouncing around him, and he sets a tone, and it's a low key. There's no, and you're in an inn in Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the country. It's not something that's going to be jump out at you, and crazy Bob goes to town and does, I don't know, it's not Laverne and Shirley kind of stuff.
I don't know who said it, but somebody said less is more when it comes to acting, and I think that's probably true for this show.
Yeah, and he's a reactive comedian. He needs people doing things to him. That's where he's best.
Mm-hmm. Do you find out that, maybe we touched on this a little earlier, that he's really laying kind of low? We're not seeing a whole lot of Newhart in the show, and it wouldn't hurt if we did see him a little bit more often, maybe.
Yeah, again, I think that's a good perception. I think that I agree. There are a couple of shows that are coming up where there's a show called, please ignore that, that's the call forwarding of...
Other people are trying to get a hold of you.
No, yeah, I don't know why. It's, of course, it's 8:15 out here. I want you to know this is the earliest.
We appreciate it, too, Steve.
No, I'm just joking. We were talking, what was I going to say?
Oh, trying to see more of Newhart on the show.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple shows that are coming up. There's one on Monday night where he's it's like old form Newhart, where he runs a local TV show and interviews a writer, and that is, I think, was so well written for him. And then there's another show that he and I do. It's called Best Friends, where I ask him in public whether or not he's my best friend in front of the town council. And he got a chance to do some of his stuff, and it's great to see, and I think we could see more of it. I feel that way.
Mm-hmm. Let me take one more call before we let you go. Hello, you're on the air.
Hi, I just wanted to call and tell you how I appreciate your show, and I think you're a terrific character. Extremely funny. Just wanted to call so I could tell my husband, guess who I talked to on the telephone today.
While you were busy working, yeah, I had a chance to talk with...
I don't get around to talking to too many TV stars.
Oh, well, terrific. Well, we are, and we shouldn't keep meeting like this.
Right.
Would you like to see more shows like this on the air?
Oh, I sure would. We really love it.
Yeah.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I do too.
There are so many different channels that you can watch, and it seems to me that there seems to be much more opportunity to hopefully dial and find something. But unfortunately, there's not all that great material that you'd like to see. I wish there were more good shows like yours around.
Yeah. Well, I feel the same way, and hopefully there will be. You mentioned Cheers. I think Cheers is a good show.
Mm-hmm.
But they're far and few between. But they're also shows. They're also comedies as we know them. They're less comedies now than there were even 5 years ago. They used to be in the top 10 shows in the ratings. They would be maybe 6 comedies, and now it's all action-packed and A-Team and shows like that. And the comedies, they're less comedies than there were, and they're.
But perhaps there are better ones now, huh?
Yeah, maybe that's what will happen is that the shows that will survive will be decent. The comedy shows will survive.
Yeah.
The comedy era is over, as that was going on in the 70s and late 70s. It's different now.
I'm always disheartened to see some of the shows that I really like that are taken off because the ratings just don't seem to be there when they need them. And I don't know if there's anything people can do. Does it really help to write and say, hey, Like I almost wrote to whoever produced it. It's Mary Tyler Moore that produces the Newhart show, saying, "Hey, good job, guys. I really like the fact that you're filming it this year." But I didn't. I didn't take the time to sit down and write.
Well, that's the kind of comment, though, that is so pleasurable to hear, because you don't often hear people say, "Hey, I'm really glad to see you guys go to film," because we feel that it's a good switch for the show, but a lot of people who make decisions in networks think, "Oh, no one's going to notice that you're doing film versus videotape." People don't notice that because they're trying to save money. And so it's wonderful to hear when people do say, "Hey, no, I do notice," and I think it's great. So, I'm going to pass when I have conversations when we go back. I'm going to mention this interview and that how you had noticed it, and because I never know. Who knows? Maybe they'll say it's too expensive, and we'll go back to videotape. I mean, so I think it's valuable.
Stephen, I want to thank you much.
My pleasure, Ken.
I hope it's as successful as it has been. And
well, thank you.
Good luck in the career.
All right, and thank you. This is a very nice interview.
It's 10:31 in the morning. Let's go into the newsroom in just a minute.